everybody, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, you are so very welcome. I'm Jane and my husband Mike does everything behind the camera. We're British early retirees, we have no debt, we've paid off the mortgage, and we live a thrifty, frugal and money-saving life here in Brittany in northwest France. And every Wednesday we invite you in for a midweek money chat, and today our chat is about having a frugal financial reset. So you might ask yourselves, what is a frugal financial reset? It might be you need to reset some aspect of your financial life. It might be that you have to reset some aspect of your savings, and savings in particular is what I'm going to focus on today. If you are frugal like us and you save more than you spend, to have a savings pot of money and having built that savings pot up, and then because you've bought something that you've saved for, or you've saved for that trip, you've gone on it and that savings pot is now empty, that might make you feel, rather like us, a little uneasy, a little uncomfortable. So today that talk about that financial reset are those steps that we can take to recalibrate the savings and how we feel ourselves. And if you watch right through to the end, we will talk about that personal side, that emotional side of rebuilding of ourselves after we have emptied a savings fund, a savings pot, a sinking fund, whatever you want to call it. So that's what I'm going to talk about today, about that frugal financial reset, how we draw on our frugal lifestyle, our frugal skills to rebuild those savings. The first one is all about setting short-term goals. The short-term goals are the things that we do all of the time to make sure that we stay frugal and we save money. So our short-term goals when we came back off our trip was to literally get back on the horse. So if you feel like you've fallen off the horse, is to get right back on it, right back into those frugal habits that save us money all the time. Get back into the meal planning, get back into putting my solar panels out, recharging my solar batteries, using my solar batteries over the summer to cook, to run my washing machine. Getting back to, I've got my list here of making my own cleaning products, of air drying the laundry. Get straight back into those frugal habits that happen on a daily basis that save us money. So that was our immediate short-term goals. And you might set an immediate short-term savings goal. So when we came back on our trip, for example, we were talking literally in the car on the way home, because it was a 14-hour car journey to come home. So we were talking in the car on the way home about places that we would like to go next. And as soon as we got home, we started doing our research into how much this might cost us and how much we might need to set our new monthly savings fund to achieve that goal in spring of next year. The next strategy for how we do a frugal financial reset is to revisit our budget. Now, when we think budget, we just think of everyday spending, how much we spend on electricity, how much we spend on gas, how much we spend on water, and so on and so forth. But revisiting our budget could be about how much we are budgeting for savings. So something that we reevaluated when we got back from our trip was the discretionary spending that we set aside, and our discretionary spending is our money within our overall budget each month that is spare for us to do whatever we like with. And we obviously spent that money within our trip away. Our month's discretionary spending was money we spent on what I would call spending money on a trip. So we reevaluated that when we came back, that we spent on average 100 euros per week on things like going out to eat, parking, that we spent on like tourist attractions, on average about 100 a week. So that means however long we go away for next year, whether that's 2 weeks, 3 weeks or 4 weeks, that is something now that we have revisited our budget that we can add into our savings. And in revisiting our budget, and as in previous of setting short-term goals, is how are we going to find that money? And for us, that comes from no spend months, where we do not spend our discretionary spending, that amount of money that we have in our budget each month, which is on average about €150 a month. It can be less, it can be more, but it is on average 150. So where is that money going to come from? How are we going to readjust that and reevaluate and adjust our budget? So the next strategy in how to do a frugal financial reset, and the next one of that, is to cut out any unnecessary spending. This is very much a low spend year for us. This is the year, for example, that we've decided we're not going to be buying any trees or shrubs or anything for our garden. We are putting our house on the market this year. We will leave that to the new buyers, whoever buys our house in the future, to decide if they want more trees or more shrubs or anything that will grow big or structural in the garden. So as part of that kind of cutting out unnecessary spending, this year I'm not spending a single penny at all on any craft materials. We're not buying any new books, for example, this year. We're not buying any more home decor for our house. So cutting out any unnecessary spending is something we'd already decided to do, but maybe if you are doing a frugal financial reset, maybe you're someone who needs to reset your finances or your budgets, maybe after a massive car repair, maybe after some dental work that you hadn't planned for, maybe after a pet vet bill, anything like that, that you need to fill that savings pot up for. Something that you can do is to cut out any unnecessary spending. You may have a regular meeting with friends where you all meet at different coffee shops. You might say to each other, hey, why don't we meet up at each other's houses for a change? I can just turn up with a packet of cookies, or you can come to me with some homemade scones. I can provide the tea. It can save us the €10, dollars, pounds, or whatever that you might spend in a coffee shop. It is your choice. It is your decision to decide on what is necessary or unnecessary to you. But whatever you feel is unnecessary, could you cut that out for a period of time to do a frugal financial reset? The next one is really quite quick. You might do this anyway, but if you do not already have automated savings, if you don't already have a direct debit or a standing order to move money each month, this is something that you could set up as a frugal financial reset. This could be something that is an action point for you to do. This is something that we have half automated and half we do manually. So automated is on the first Monday of every month, we have money that goes out automatically from one account to another into a savings account for our sinking funds of €755 per month, which goes into our short-term savings. But we manually move money on that day, which is our 20% of the money coming in, plus the money that we save for a new second-hand car for us in the future. But is this something that you're not already doing? It could be an action step for you to do. It could be something that you physically do to have a frugal financial reset, is have an automated money that goes out each month that you save each month towards your savings. The next step in how to do a frugal financial reset is to declutter and sell things that you don't like, don't want, don't use, or just don't need anymore. Is get them gone, get them sold. Are there things around your garden that you're not using? We had, for example, garden furniture that we weren't using. We had, for example, garden equipment that we're not using. We're emptying out our barn. We're getting rid of things from there that we're just not using anymore. You know, when you've done things like, so we often buy secondhand lawn mowers, for example, and buy one that's a bit more less rubbish than the last one, because we just get through them. So, for example, we'd sold the old one. We had one, we sold the old one. We had 2 wheelbarrows, one was a bit wonky, so wheelbarrow with a wonky wheel for sale. Somebody could come along and fix it. We got that. And it's not much money, but it's money coming in this direction. And I want to give you a hint of what we actually do with that money, and a physical strategy that we use for this is that we've just got a jam jar in the cupboard. And when we sell things for a few euros here and there, we put the actual cash into that savings pot, a physical jam jar. And what we do with that within that month of our frugal financial reset is we use that for the small top-up shops from the supermarket. So I do a big shop at the beginning of the month, and then I'll do 2 smaller shops of like 50 euros at a time. And what I do with that cash that comes in, I use that at the supermarket, and I move the money from my supermarket budget in my main account to the savings account, topping it up a bit more quickly. So there you go. Frugal financial reset, declutter and sell, and the bits of money that you get, use that, top it up into your savings account. The next step of how to do a frugal financial reset is to review your bank statements, review your credit card statements. I know some of you in some countries use credit cards and you use them for regular purchases. For whatever reason, maybe you get cashbacks, it works for you. Maybe you don't have consumer protection like we have here in the EU, where we all use debit cards. Maybe you don't have that. So review those statements. Now, we review our online banking 2 or 3 times a week. That may not be something that you do, but keeping an eye on that keeps an eye on the little bits of spending that you do. And it also brings us right back to a previous strategy about reviewing your budget. And this bit of checking your bank statements, of checking your credit card statements, of going online and checking that is all about reviewing your budget. This bit is this: are you sticking to your budget? Strategy, it really works for us. I know it really works for many of you, and it really is a fantastic frugal financial reset, is to do a no spend challenge. I know many of you do this on a very regular basis. So we have currently 6 no spend months a year, and when we have a no spend month, we do not spend our discretionary spending. We just leave it in our current account. It creates a buffer by the end of the year of almost an extra, well, over an extra 1,000 euros sitting in our current account. And it's just there as an extra piece of savings. At the end of the year, we take a chunk of it and we move that into our savings accounts. But it is there, and it just creates that mindset of not needing stuff, of not going out and buying anything extra or little, or those just extra little bits that you can do. You do your own no spend challenges your way. Let us know in the comments below what kind of no spend challenges you do. Do you have no spend months? Do you have no spend weeks? Do you have no spend days? But they are a superb way of a frugal financial reset. Last of all, and I have saved this for last because this may be the case for you, is about rebuilding your emergency fund. For some people, they are in the early stages of their frugal journey, and their emergency fund, or their one saving pot, is the only savings that they have. And if they've had to spend money from that, it's about how you rebuild that. Now, we don't need to use our emergency fund. Our emergency fund is literally for emergencies. We've never had one yet. The money just sits there. Ours is a fully funded 12 months emergency fund. And that means we could cover all bills for 12 months from that emergency fund if we needed to. But your emergency fund could be a specified amount of money. It could be 1 month's living expenses, 3 months living expenses, 6 months living expenses. But what if you've had to spend from that account? What would I do if that was my only savings and I had to have a frugal financial reset to rebuild that? The first thing I'd do is put myself on a bare bones budget, meaning I would spend not a penny on anything except my absolute needs for survival. I would reduce all costs, and here's an example of how I would reduce my electricity costs. We have a 300 litre hot water tank, and every night when the cheap rate electricity occurs, that tank switches itself on. But I know people who live here who save money by only manually switching that hot water tank on twice a week. And it heats the water up, and they are very, very, very frugal with how they use that water. They have navy showers. They would never leave the hot tap running when rinsing dishes. They would only rinse dishes with cold water. And those are examples. I could, for example, cut back my fuel for the car that we have from 80 a month to less than half of that by only going to the supermarket once a month. My supermarket budget of 400 a month, I could cut that back to 100 a month if I absolutely had to put us on a beans and rice diet to build up that emergency fund. It's a very short term, very drastic solution, but if I had to do that, and if you had to do that, I'm sure you would do that. Leave a comment below. What would you do if you had to slash your budget so drastically to put yourselves on a bare bones budget? If you only had your emergency fund and you had to use money from that emergency fund, but you had to build it up again and have a frugal financial reset to build that really quickly again. As promised, I'm going to share with you now that personal side, that emotional side of having to do a frugal financial reset, of when you've got a savings fund or you've had to save up a lot of money and then you've had to spend a lot of money. And yes, we saved money to go on a trip, and yes, that fund is much depleted and we're having to build it up again. But the big thing that we've had to do is to get our house ready to go on the market. And just things like repainting our entire house, finishing jobs off around the house, doing a bit more tiling, buying a central heating system to go into our house and having it installed, doing work here. It has cost us a lump of money from our long-term savings, and our long-term savings account is very much depleted. So I'm going to explain to you how we feel about this. We absolutely do feel financially less secure at the moment. So we are feeling financially insecure. And we're aware of that emotion. And we're aware of the fact that it can cause a little bit of personal tension, a little discomfort. So we are aware of that. We are aware of the fact that we are back into savings building mode again. It feels really good when you're at savings spending mode. It never feels so good when you're at savings spending mode. So we're back into that thing, that sort of Dave Ramsey thing of that gazelle intensity. And we've just really sharpened and focused all of our frugal skills. We're making sure that we're keeping all of our bills and costs as low as we possibly can to rebuild that. So we'll be very honest with you. Yes, we feel insecure. Yes, we feel like that buffer in our account is very, very much smaller. And we also remind ourselves of the good work that we do to stay frugal, the self-discipline that we have, the self-motivation that we have to stay frugal, and that the end goal in mind. The end goal in mind at the moment is our house is ready to sell. So anybody who comes through our door and buys our house, there is no work for them to do. That the garden is ready, that the barn is ready, that the river is ready, that all the work that is needed to be done. That, we'll be honest with you, we do not feel as secure as we did financially, but we know we're really confident that we have those financial skills to rebuild those savings. But we have to be honest with you and say to you, yeah, it's not very comfortable at the moment. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for hitting the like button. Thank you to everybody who subscribes. At the moment, we know that 50% of you who watch on a regular basis are not subscribers. So come on, hit that subscribe button. It's absolutely free. It costs you nothing at all. And we will see you on the next video. Bye for now.